And you talk about kind of this big difference between falling in love and being in love. So what can people do to actually like stay in love and stay in the relationship?
Yeah, that is such a good point. And this is something that comes up a lot of times in my research. And so, for example, a guy will call me and say, I've been dating my girlfriend for 3 months. I really like her. She's very kind. I respect her, but it doesn't feel the same. I don't feel the same excitement I felt in the beginning, and I want to break up to go find that excitement with somebody else. And so this is a clear mistake that people make, which is they jump from 3 month relationship to 3 month relationship, always chasing that initial excitement. And what's wrong is that they're confusing falling in love, which is a very intense thing, full of hormones and chemicals and oxytocin and all of these things that really just occupy your mind and make you completely focus on the other person. And they don't understand that that's different than being in love. And being in love is not a constant state of excitement and passion. It's more like something that exists and is happening in the background, but it's not taking over your mind. And it's very, very natural, whether it's after 3 months or 6 months or 2 years, to transition from that intense honeymoon period to something more sustainable, to the next stage of relationships. And so, what I say to these clients is, this is healthy. This is natural. If you keep doing what you're doing, you're just going to always bounce from 3 months to 3 months to 3 months, seeking that high and never finding somebody, committing and building a long term relationship. And if what you want is to have that long term connection with somebody, then eventually you need to understand that it's not always going to feel as intense as it felt in the beginning. And what you need to do is find somebody great, commit to them, and understand that being in love doesn't feel the same as falling in love.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's such an important point, just for people to be aware of, like that high or that huge spark of love is not going to last forever. But that doesn't mean you're not in love. It's like a transition phase that you're going through, and yeah, it's just like an important point that I think a lot of people don't realize. Like that's a normal step in the dating process.
Exactly, exactly right. And so for anyone listening who's wondering, should I leave my relationship because this has faded? Then I would say no. I mean, it may not be the right relationship for you, but don't leave a relationship because it's going through a natural transition from intensity to less intense.
Right. And so, Logan, I guess there's only like one big question left to ask about dating, which is like, how do you know when you found the one? Like the person you're going to marry, the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with? Like, how did you know? Was it like a certain one moment? Was it like a series of
Hmm.
moments that you knew, like for you, that Scott was the one person you want to spend your life with?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what I would say is, first of all, I don't really believe in the concept of the one. I think there's a lot of people out there that each of us could be with. And hopefully your listeners find this empowering, because instead of saying there's billions of people in the world and how could I meet them all and how can I find the perfect person for me and which one's my soulmate and if this were my soulmate it'd be easier, instead you can think relationships are built, they're not discovered. And so what you really need to do is find somebody great, put effort in, and create the relationship you want. Don't focus on, oh, it's 99% who I'm with and 1% making it work. No, no, not at all. A huge percentage of successful relationships is the effort you put in to make it great. And so that's one part of it. Another thing I would say is really what we talked about before, which is what side of you do they bring out? So often people get focused on the resume qualities. Oh, I want someone with this job and this height and this income and this religion and this race. Well, what if you've dated a bunch of people like that and they haven't made you feel good? Maybe it's actually time to question your type, go after a different type of person, and realize that you may be wrong about what makes you happy long term. And so, what I would say is, some of the early stuff is pay attention to what side of you they bring out. Pay attention to the fact that, do they make you feel secure? Do they make you feel anxious? Do they make you feel avoidant? Um, do they help you break bad patterns, or do they reinforce your bad patterns? And then finally, as you get closer to really committing, there are a bunch of questions you can ask each other. And I have a chapter in my book about, before you tie the knot, do this. And that's really about, are you heading in the same direction? Do you want the same things out of life? Do you have the same views on having kids, where you're going to live, money, if you're both going to work, how you're going to manage your resources, how you're going to interact with your friends and family? And so often people don't have those hard conversations before they get married because they say, well, I love you. We must be on the same page. And this is just not true. So, really, people should be having hard conversations before they get married to confirm that they are on the same page now and on the same page about where they're heading.